The time is now, the solutions are here, and the power is in our hands. So be bold, be brave, and take action. Let's create a legacy that will echo throughout time.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining our fifth Calling the Collective. My name is Lila. Today I'm joined by Anne-Marie, the Sustainable Life Coach, and we will be talking about sustainability, what that looks like within the UK and also Tanzania. So a lot of really cool stuff that you're going to learn from her today. Before we dive into the podcast, I wanted to show you all the great solutions that Annie has on sustainable pathways. The first one is her cohort course on carbon literacy for individuals. She also runs carbon literacy for marketing professionals, being the last one with Heather from the Small Footprint Agency. And she also runs carbon literacy for sole traders, freelancers, and entrepreneurs. So you will find a carbon literacy training for you, I am sure. And last but not least, she also runs sustainability coaching sessions for leaders. So make sure to reach out to Annie to learn more about what she can support you with on your sustainability journey. All right, let's dive into the podcast now. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you to introduce yourself a bit better, and then we'll dive into our questions. If you want to learn more, stick around, and in the end, you'll have some more information on where you can learn more about her solutions and her work, and also how you can contact her. Over to you then. Would you mind introducing yourself?
No, thank you very much. Yes, so my name's Anne-Marie, but for ease of marketing and space saving, I am Annie, the Sustainable Life Coach. And how I describe myself is the personal trainer for your ecological impact. And what that means is that I'm here to help support, encourage, and mainly get people to the place that they want to be in terms of their own personal or business sustainability goals. A lot of that is focused at the moment on footprints in terms of reducing carbon footprints, either from a lifestyle perspective or trying to reach net zero goals. Or other people are interested in becoming plastic free or having a specific business strategy that they want to develop, employee engagement schemes, all those other things as well. So I'm basically the person that people come to when they're either stuck, confused, overwhelmed, not sure, and want somebody to help them to guide through this completely crazy, confusing and complicated world of sustainability, because basically not everybody is an expert, and therefore I don't expect anybody to be an expert. What I expect is them to show up and to have some collaboration, and together we can overcome the barriers and have a successful outcome.
Perfect. That's great. A very good overview already. And I'd love to dive in more to understand how you got started with all of this. So do you mind sharing kind of your personal journey towards sustainability and how that sparked this idea to start Sustainable Life Coach?
Yeah, so way back when I was a sort of teenager, there was a lot of news reports that focused on ecological impact. So we had the hole in the ozone layer, we had lots of fires in the Amazon rainforest, we had the Exxon Valdez oil spill, and there was lots of terrible reports about impacts on wildlife and people's health. And I was quite sort of like a nerd at school. And so therefore, I was the only person in the class during science that put my hand up to say that I knew about what was going on in the planet. And then basically towards when I was doing my exams, I chose more science-based subjects because it was easier to do them at school than the arts subjects because you get more support from teachers, etc. And then I kind of was in that space and looking to see what I could do at university. And my mum said, why don't you combine your A-level choices of geography, chemistry and biology and do something in the environmental field, because that looks like it's going to produce a lot of jobs coming up in the future. And I thought, oh, that sounds like a good idea and it makes sense and it's things that I'm interested in. So I ended up doing a degree in environmental science at the University of Leeds. But unfortunately, at that time, it was still something that was quite a marginal area. So perhaps if you were somebody who was working in the water industry, you may specialize in that after you entered that role for a few years. It wasn't something where there was a lot of opportunity or any sort of intern positions, etc. A lot of the time you needed to have experience or to volunteer. And having recently left university, I didn't have the funds to volunteer and I didn't have the experience. So it was a bit of a chicken and egg situation. I then worked in the corporate world for 10 years for various different telecoms corporations. But then kind of got to the point where I wasn't really satisfied in working all the hours for sort of shareholders and CEOs to reap all of those benefits. And I wanted to do something that was a bit more satisfying for the soul. So I read a book called What Color Is Your Parachute? And I'd already been on a couple of trips out to some far-flung places to do some wildlife observations. So that was a safari in Tanzania and another one in India. And I was more leaning towards kind of doing work in that area. So I decided to quit my job, which most people said I was brave to do. I felt like saying, you're braver staying here. And after a year of traveling around backpacking, I returned to university to do a master's in conservation biology. And then since then, I've been working on various different projects, whether that's teaching bush skills to volunteers in the middle of nowhere in Tanzania, working on cheetah projects, working on IUCN red listing at the Institute of Zoology at London Zoo, working on radio and TV programs in Tanzania, and sort of doing a lot of practical work and very much focused on communications as well. And then coming back to the UK a few years ago and having a little break and then thinking about how can I combine all of this experience and knowledge into something that is my own project. And really it was the case of saying, we need to do something and we need to do something now. And a lot of the things that people have problems with is knowing what to do. And so therefore, my business is about helping people know what to do and also why that's important and the benefits that they can get from taking these steps, which aren't just about making the world a nicer place from an environmental point of view, but there's lots of other benefits that they can gain from as well, whether that's for their business or for their own personal lifestyle. So it's a long journey from seeing, distressed birds, 1985, to being here a long time later. But it still piques the interest in the same way.
Oh, for sure. So when I checked, as we were talking about your LinkedIn and your general background, it's definitely different than most people. And that's always super intriguing and causes a lot of people to try to connect a bit of the dots of everything that you've done. And thinking about your time in the UK and your time in Tanzania, you were also self-taught in many aspects. You ran an NGO. How does that experience influence your work today? And what would you like other people that are currently doing this similar work that you're doing to understand as well from that experience?
Oh, that's a huge question. So I'll take the first part in terms of what I took away from that experience. A lot of it is to do with perseverance and resilience. Living in a place where not everything works and there isn't the availability of lots of different products and services, and you have to make do with what you have. It gives you the real sort of backbone of saying we can make this work, with what we have today. we're not looking for a magic solution that's going to come along and solve it all, and so therefore we'll sit around and do nothing. That's not the choice that we have. So being in a situation like that, you do have the opportunity to develop your brain in a way that says, okay, this is a problem. How do we overcome that problem? And that's how I translate that into my coaching work. And, a lot of the time people will come up with an excuse, which to them is something that validates why they aren't doing something or why they are doing something. But trying to use it in a different way to explain about how we could come up with an alternative that might be just a better choice, is a way to overcome that and to give people an opportunity to make those changes without feeling like they're sacrificing something. In addition, there is a huge amount of support that comes with that. So having a community and having people that will come and help you out in the middle of the night if your tire bursts and there's nobody else, because there isn't a recovery service in the middle of the bush. There's no truck to come and pick you up that you can just phone. So having a really good, strong network of people that you can use to guide people and signpost people to, if there's something that I don't do it within my own business, then there are other people that I can genuinely recommend that will help that person get to that end goal. And a lot of that is really nice because in the sustainability space, we all seem to be very good at helping each other and being very well connected. It's not a cutthroat industry where we're all trying to, be competitive. So again, that reflects a lot of the experience that I had in Tanzania. And so that support is really valued. And then making those connections as well. I love the fact when I can kind of put different things together and come up with a really ingenious solution. I just had one of these a couple of days ago where I was talking to a client, and then I remembered somebody else that has a business that would be really good in terms of forming a new synergy so that both businesses would win, but also it's from a sustainability point of view as well. So it's kind of like connecting those dots and making sure that everybody is going to get a benefit from it as well. I think that it's that kind of attitude and ability to apply those solutions. That's a lot of what I took away from my experience there.
I mean, that's beautiful. I'm from Brazil, and I feel that's something that I also take away from my culture is that kind of aspect as well of community. No matter what, you're going to help the person next to you. And it's interesting that you've already jumped into thinking about the individuals and connecting those dots. And what is the most challenging aspect for you working with both individuals and businesses when you're coaching in relation to lifestyle or to a specific company operation? And how do you address those challenges in your own approach?
So the biggest challenge I have at the moment is that I work with businesses and individuals that want to do something that makes a better change. So whether that's for their own personal life or whether that is for their business, these people have come to me for help. So they're already interested, committed, enthusiastic, and ready to take some action. Unfortunately, not everybody else is. That might be their business partner. It might be their customers. It might be their suppliers. It might be their partner. It might be their parents. It might be the community that they live in. So there's all of these other challenges that are outside of that person's own enthusiasm and commitment to this sustainability goal that they want to achieve. And that, I think, at the moment is the most challenging aspect of coaching individuals and businesses. It's about getting everybody else on board. So what I try and do in the coaching is to ask people about what kind of things would that person be interested in order to get them on board, and to give them the tools to help them to get on board. Now, that might be a business partner that's not interested in sustainability from a sustainability point of view, but they might be interested because they're looking for investment in the company, and therefore the company is much more attractive to investors if they have a sustainability plan. Or it may be a case of that they're more interested in the financials. So it's about presenting a return on investment and looking at the benefits from a purely financial perspective. If it's a partner or a relative or somebody else, it may be having a conversation about what would you like to see in terms of future generations. Are there opportunities to just try something, like go for a test drive in an EV or have a plant-based meal cooked for them? So it's about learning through different types of experimentation, but also different types of conversations, finding out what they're really, inspired by, and using them as opportunities for that person who's really committed to then start having those conversations and start encouraging people to be as enthusiastic about they are about the goal, which might not actually be that they're wanting to be more sustainable, but they might just want it to be a healthier option for their business or for their lifestyle, for example. So that's where we are at the moment. Hopefully that shift will be a little bit less of a problem moving forward. But at this very moment in time, getting everyone on board is the challenge, which is why I exist and why my business exists. So it's chicken and egg.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting that you say it in that perspective as well, because I it's definitely thought about that from a business perspective, but also thinking about that on an individual perspective. So when you mentioned, if we can eat a plant-based meal, that is really, really interesting. So it must be super cool to go into these people's lives and try to understand their challenges, which maybe for you and in your own family is not really something that's that common. But seeing how different people react to sustainable choices and how people around them react is something that we might see on a TV show, but it definitely seems like a very interesting thing to be able to have that conversation with someone. And I've been also looking into your solutions that you've put in on sustainable pathways. And I noticed you have an upcoming course on carbon literacy for sole traders, freelancers, and entrepreneurs. So a second set of different people as well. Can you share some insights on what this training will be and how people will benefit from it as well?
Yeah, sure. So carbon literacy training is a accredited course that I have created, and that has been certified by the Carbon Literacy Trust. The Carbon Literacy Trust is an organization, it's a charitable organization that started in 2012, and they basically provide the framework for these courses to be created, and then they also issue the certificates. As of this month, there's over 62,000 people that have been certified as carbon literate. For my courses that I've created myself, I have carbon literacy for individuals, which is about their personal lifestyle, or that could be applicable to employees if it was for a business, for SMEs, for marketing professionals, and as you say, for sole traders, freelancers, and entrepreneurs. And what carbon literacy training is about understanding what climate change is, why it's important, why it's urgent, and most interestingly as well, what that person can do in their own lives or in their own business to take action as a result of the training. So, for example, for sole traders, freelancers, and entrepreneurs, we know that 99% of businesses in the UK are small to medium enterprises. And from what I've been able to gather, I think that the idea is that probably about 60 to 70% of those SMEs are sole traders, freelancers, and entrepreneurs. And as we've seen recently in terms of shifts in the way that people do business, those very small micro businesses are probably much more better positioned to be able to switch how they do business rather than the larger organizations. So it's really crucial to get these people to understand how they can take advantage of this opportunity and to switch their business in a really quite quick way in order for us to get closer to our net zero target as fast as we can. And for sole traders, freelancers, and entrepreneurs, it's not just about their own business as well. A lot of the time it is about communicating with their customers and also their supply chain, and then perhaps also collaborating with other businesses as well to bring new products or to monetize some of their waste, for example. So the course really explores about what net zero is and a little bit about some of the terminology and the jargon busting around that, but then also what that business can do from their own perspective, along those lines in terms of their own personal responsibility, but also how they can achieve that through collaboration as well. And it's really key to not forget these people, because as I say, they form a lot of businesses, but often they're the people that aren't really necessarily targeted by a lot of communications around net zero, but they are very much important part of the story. And as I say, they could be also a very important part of the solution.
100%. And it's so interesting to me that you've been able to realize this and capture it and not necessarily always go for the bigger multinational companies, and learning about thinking about everything that you've worked in and your experience today. What trends do you see emerging in sustainability and eco-conscious living, and how are you incorporating these trends in your coaching sessions or your workshops as well?
This is a great question. I'm not necessarily seeing something as a trend. I think that just generally people are becoming more aware, and also that there is an element where people are putting this more as a priority. I think that there's definitely some attention being drawn to these the problems that we have with climate change because of the weather that we've been having, ironically enough. So especially the heat waves, I always see more people interested in my course the hotter it gets. And also about the slower pace that some governments and organizations may be taking, and that there are definitely things that people can do themselves, and just also a general shift towards happiness as opposed to consumerism. I think, and I hope that that's something that will continue. I think that we realize that we've probably got enough stuff now, and that spending time with people and, having an experience over having loads and loads of things are probably much more rewarding. So shifting along those ways and making things out of what we've already got, upcycling, repurposing secondhand items. So that's becoming more popular, although, that isn't the whole solution. The whole solution would include consuming less as well. But we're definitely on a sort of shift to be a little bit more sustainably minded. And what I do in my coaching is to try and encourage people to develop a sustainability mindset. So that means that you might have a mindset that is conscious of price, for example. So, Like my mum, she's always saying, oh no, this is too expensive, or that's, too expensive. So her whole mindset is about the cost of something. If we can get into a mindset to say, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, that might be brush your teeth, or it might be to go shopping. How can I make that activity or that product or that service a sustainable choice? And all of the choices that we make during the day are with that mindset. So it's again, we're on this journey. We're on a gradual shift, but the trends, I don't really see something as a trend. I kind of see it as a movement in a way.
Yeah, and you were just talking about maybe leaving your more corporate job a couple of years ago, and maybe then it was something that people would say. I think even today people might say it's brave, but it might have been a bit more out of the norm. And looking into the news and people around us, we see that that's actually becoming the norm. That people are understanding that, hey, we might need to take a bit of time off and put your work and your experience and your passion into play to something that really helps us solve some of these problems. And linked exactly with what you just said, right? How do your days go by? What do you spend time doing? How do you count your weeks and your months and your years, if not just sitting maybe behind a chair or every day? And I think this is definitely something of privilege, and I'm sure you more than anyone would know how that works with your generalized experience as well. But I think that a lot of people are putting together their little coins and finding ways to say, hey, this makes me happy. Maybe I'll reduce my working hours, or I will find some other work that can help me get there, or even experiences, like you said. So maybe I don't want a whole tree full of presents. Maybe I can have an experience with my family, and that will give me a bit more sense of connection and belonging. Well, Annie, I
Absolutely.
think I have loved speaking with you, and there are so many more things. So we'll definitely have you back to chat about specific topics. But as you know, I love a challenge, and I love giving people a challenge. So I would like to give you one. So
Mm-hmm.
I will say goodbye to everyone here, because I would really like to end it with Annie's speech. If you want to learn more, there will be links in the comments where you can learn about her work and the workshop as well, and everything surrounding a bit of what she does. But to close off our podcast, and I would like to imagine that you are on a stage speaking to an enormous audience of sustainability professionals and business leaders, and you have a chance to make a 50-second speech that will inspire, motivate, and empower them to take action and make change the very next day. What would your speech look like?
Okay, so along the lines of, I'm here today to ignite the fire within, to inspire you to create a lasting legacy for yourselves and the world. We're at a crossroads where the decisions we make today will shape the future for generations to come. The opportunities before us are vast, waiting to be seized by those with the vision and courage to act. By integrating sustainability into our businesses and into our lives, we can not only drive positive change, but also unlock new avenues for growth and innovation. Let's not see sustainability as a burden, but as an invitation to reimagine our world and redefine success. It's through sustainability that we can build resilient businesses, foster meaningful connections with customers and communities, and preserve our precious resources. But it takes more than mere intentions. It takes actions. It requires all of us to challenge the status quo, to step outside our comfort zones and embrace new ways of thinking and doing. And it's in these moments of courage that true leadership emerges. So I dare you, seize the opportunities that lie before you and create a legacy that will make others green with envy and make you remembered for long after you're gone. Take that bold step towards sustainable practices, whether that's reducing waste, embracing renewable energy, or championing ethical sourcing. Be known not only for your financial achievements, but the positive impact you've created in the world. So let's build that legacy that future generations will admire and be inspired by. Let's leave a world that's cleaner, healthier, and more equitable than the one we inherited. The time is now, the solutions are here, and the power is in our hands. So be bold, be brave, and take action. Let's create a legacy that will echo throughout time.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, everyone. Speak to you soon. Ciao.
Yes, thank you.